If you've been waiting for Star Citizen 4.10, you probably have one question. Is this finally the patch that gets Star Citizen back on track? After the rough launch of 4.8, CIG shifted priorities with 4.9. Instead of focusing on major new gameplay, the goal became stability, fixing long-standing bugs, improving server performance, and rebuilding confidence. Now 4.10 is bringing back the bigger features that were pushed back from 4.9, like Instanced Siege of Orison, a complete fuel rebalance, new missions, new gear, and one of the biggest gameplay balance passes we've seen this year. But after everything that's been happening over the last few months, is it actually ready? And was Alpha 4.9 really the stability patch that they set it out to be? Let's take a look. So the latest roadmap update has locked in several major features for Alpha 4.10. Foundation Festival is underway, Ship Showdown has officially begun, and the PTU continues to receive builds almost every day. The feature list is honestly looking pretty solid, but if you've been watching Spectrum or Reddit, you'll notice something interesting. People aren't really asking for more features anymore. They're asking whether the game is finally becoming stable or not. That's because 4.9 was marketed as a patch focused on stability. It brought a huge number of fixes, and for many players it was definitely an improvement over 4.8, which was a horrible patch. But at the same time, plenty of players are still reporting server issues, broken missions, desync, and inconsistent performance. So instead of simply reading through the patch notes, let's look at what 4.10 is actually changing, where it builds on 4.9, and whether it's enough to restore confidence. Before we talk about the new features, it's worth understanding why so many players are approaching this patch carefully. After 4.8, the community was asking CIG to slow down and focus on stability. That's exactly what happened with 4.9. Instead of pushing every planned feature, CIG spent a lot of time addressing bugs, crashes, and quality of life improvements. And to be fair, many players do say the game feels better than it did during 4.8. But if you look across Reddit and Spectrum today, you'll find the community is still pretty divided. Some players are calling 4.9 the most playable build they've had in months. Others say they're still running into enough bugs that they don't think the job is finished. That's why expectations for 4.10 are so different. A year ago, the conversation was, when are we getting more gameplay or more features? Today, it's, can we get all of this new gameplay in a patch that actually works? And honestly, that's exactly what makes 4.10 such an important update, despite the features that are coming into the patch. Looking at the roadmap itself, there's actually quite a bit coming. Instancing has now been committed, which should help some of Star Citizen's larger events scale much better. Siege of Orison is finally returning after being pushed back while CIG focused on stability work, and it has been completely revamped. Item recovery continues to improve, and the Bull H4 super heavy armor and Arlington lever action rifle are both coming in 4.10, alongside new Wicklow offerings and a complete rebalance of hydrogen and quantum fuel, which is a bigger deal than people think. Recco Battaglia as well has also returned to testing after previously sitting in the tentative category, suggesting CIG is getting much closer to locking down the feature set. Overall, this is a much healthier roadmap than we saw just a few months ago. Now, personally, I think that the changes to fuel is a much bigger deal than people think. CIG has spent the last patch cycle focusing on primarily on stability. 4.10 is finally bringing back some larger gameplay changes, and this one affects almost everyone. Nearly every ship in the game has received adjustment to hydrogen and quantum fuel. Some ships gained efficiency, others lost range. Hydrogen capacities have been reduced across much of the fleet, while fuel consumption has also been rebalanced. It might sound like a small balance pass, but this affects long-distance travel, mission planning, refueling gameplay, and much more, and even the value of dedicated refueling ships like the Starfarer. It's probably the most impactful gameplay change in 4.10 because it affects everyone no matter what you're doing in the game. And let me know in the comments below, do you think that some of these changes, whether it's good or bad, because now I feel like we're gonna be needing to refuel more in some cases, like in Pyro, and this will require us to use the refueling mechanics that were introduced a few patches ago. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Now, of course, there's Siege of Orison as well. This is the headline feature of the whole patch, not because of Siege of Orison itself, but because of instancing as well. Now, let's talk about Siege of Orison. Originally expected earlier in 4.9, it's finally arriving alongside instancing, which should help the event scale much better than previous versions. Currently, PTU testing also shows significantly improved rewards, giving players much more incentive to run the event. But this is also where the community starts paying close attention. Players are still reporting bugs with instancing, elevators, mission flow, and server performance. That's not unusual for a PTU. That's exactly why these tests exist. The difference is that after everything surrounding 4.9, players are paying much closer attention to stability than they are to new content. The good news is that CIG has been pushing PTU updates quickly and reacting to player feedback. The real question is whether the momentum continues once the patch reaches live. Now, outside of the major features, there are plenty of smaller improvements worth mentioning. Mining continues to evolve with new blueprint pools and expanded crafting support, giving players more progression options as those systems continue to grow. The Golem has also received a nice quality of life improvement, with its mining laser now mounted on a functioning gimbal. It might sound like a small change, but for anyone who's spent time mining, it should make the ship much more comfortable to use. Combat players aren't being left out either. The Arlington Lever action rifle has received another balancing pass, while the Bull H4 super heavy armor is continuing to be tuned as true heavy equipment rather than something every player will wear by default. And then there's one of the more interesting PTU discoveries. Stormwals are currently absent from the latest build. In the last video, we took a look at the whale and how it is in the game. Well, they sadly removed it, so we don't yet know whether they'll actually put it into the game now or not, which is a sad thing because I really wanted to see the whales in action in the game. Still, it's something the community noticed almost immediately, and it'll be interesting to see whether they make their return before the patch reaches the live servers or not. Now, outside of the 4.10 stuff, the Foundation Festival is officially underway. That means another free fly event, guide rewards, Twitch drops, and a great opportunity for new players to experience the game while veteran players help them learn the ropes. However, the last free fly event was in 4.8 and it got delayed and it was a disaster. So we have to wait and see whether this will be a repeat of that or not, because they're really walking through a thin line right here. Because, well, if it's unstable again, and if the game is breaking again after they specifically said that we are working on stability, it's not gonna look good no matter how you look at it. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's also likely to bring a lot more players into the PTU as well over the coming weeks, which should provide CIG with even more feedback before the launch, which is a good thing. Ship Showdown has also officially begun, using a new tournament format before narrowing the field down to the top 16. If you've got a favorite ship, now's the time to support it through screenshots, videos, artwork, or other community hub creations. It's also one of the more enjoyable community events of the year, and it'll be interesting to see which ships make it all the way to the finals. So, is Alpha 4.10 the patch that gets Star Citizen back on track? I think it's definitely heading in the right direction. The feature set looks strong, CIG is iterating quickly, and finally they're using the PTU properly, because I've been saying for so long, you need to use the PTU. Testing is the key for a more stable patch, basically. And it's encouraging to see gameplay systems like Siege of Orison and Fuel finally getting the attention they've needed. Although Fuel is a balancing act, so I don't expect them to get it right away, but we'll have to wait and see. But after 4.9, players aren't judging this update by how many new features it adds. They're judging it by one simple question: can they actually play the game without fighting bugs or server issues and trying to work around basically the whole session? If 4.10 delivers on that, I think it'll be remembered as one of the strongest updates we've had in quite a while. And what do you think? Are you optimistic about the 4.10 patch? Or are you waiting to see how it performs once it reaches the live servers? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot for more Star Citizen news, updates, gameplay, and more. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.